If it hasn't occurred to you in the spiritual traditions, everyone comes to this essential question of what is illusion? What is not illusion? Buddha spoke of all of this being an illusion, that even the sense of I, the I-ness that's perpetuating this sense of continuity inside ourselves, that itself is an illusion of perception, that somehow perception has been formed and has continued like a wave throughout time and space, as waves somehow self-referencing each other and giving an apparency of an I state of being. And in the Buddhist traditions, they call this anatma, a no self. There's no self here. Certain schools of Indian philosophy have the idea, Advaita, that there is no duality. There is no actual I center that alone in itself is an illusion. Now, what's interesting is there are other schools of Indian philosophy that say it is not anatma, meaning that there is no center self, no apparency of self. There actually is a self, and that self, Atma, is a divine aspect of the absolute divinity, a spark of the divine. And that this spark of the divine somehow forgets or becomes alienated or separated out from its unity and wholeness with the grand Atma, the Paramatman, the divine absolute, God self, and somehow gets mired in illusion, thinking that it's a separate self, not God, and that this is not God, that this is all just bits and pieces of a universe, and that they're in the middle of this universe. And somehow through time that we live and die learning lessons of greater consciousness, or somehow we get even more deluded in the illusion and delude ourselves, thinking that we're a physical being with this mind, this thought, this feeling, this emotion, this history. And that the path of awakening is recognizing that we're actually not this physical self. We're not our minds, our thoughts. We're not just our feelings and emotions. We're not our actions. In fact, we're not even our stories. We're not our histories. All the things that we so hold on to tightly to make ourselves into an apparent self is actually all, and even the mechanism to make ourselves into an apparent self is an illusion. I posed this question once to one of my spiritual teachers in Egypt. His name was Hakim, and he was a wisdom keeper of this ancient Egyptian wisdom, Kamitian wisdom school, indigenous wisdom from ancient Kemet, which is what they called Egypt back then. And I'm right there across the Sphinx with him in his home that we could see in a little window, the pyramids and the Sphinx. He called it Tefnuti, the spit of the goddess. And we're there in this divine realm with him. And he's passing around his hookah. Myself and my crew were there sitting with him, speaking for hours about so many philosophical topics. And I posed to him, I say, Hakim, what is this? What's the absolute truth, if you know it? Is there Atma, meaning is there divine self, and that the apparency of this is the illusion, but not the divine self? Or is there no divine self, no self at all? And that's the absolute truth. And he looks at me with this deep smile, and he had this face smile, ear to ear, and this deep voice, old Egyptian wisdom keeper. And he says to me, he looks at me and he goes with this piercing eye of humor, he says, same experience, two different viewpoints. For him, all the philosophies of India, all the philosophies of Buddhism, all the philosophies of Hinduism, yoga, Advaita, Vedanta, Tantra, you name it, we can go on with all these schools. They were just points of view. He had reduced everything down to someone, you or me and all of us, taking a point of view of infinity. And then we're the ones that are choosing or somehow ascribe, this is real. You're real, I'm not real. This is real, not real. one of the foundational practices is to look at real and unreal, what is illusionary, what is truth, and to feel for the truth of each one of those in your life as a navigation system, as a continuous self-inquiry, as a continuous keeping yourself honest practice. Is what I'm doing, my actions, my thoughts, even my goals, my philosophies, my personal viewpoints, how real are they? How do I know they're real? What are they standing on? Are my viewpoints and ideas standing on knowledge that perhaps might have holes in it? Or is it standing firmly? So, it's up to us to really discover the truth of what is illusionary, what is true. In my experience, they're the same thing from two viewpoints. For me, what's true is this right here, right now. Without any qualification, without adding any thoughts about this circumstance, this moment, without taking a viewpoint and narrowing down this whole experience into an opinion. I like to start to find those lodged opinions in which I've triangulated and circulated and corralled vast amounts of ideas and put them into a firm knowingness, perhaps an entrenched way of being, perhaps becoming an old dog that can't learn new tricks, not even knowing I'm doing that to myself. But when we can look at that and question what is true, what is illusion, and we stay on that path, then I bet you one day you won't even care for any of that. Your philosophical meanderings, if you care for this topic at all, will start to dissolve. You'll become more in touch with the pristine fullness of the truth right here, right now. You'll become a beacon, a transmission of living your truth, living your creed. And you won't care so much for fanciful ideas. You perhaps might care for the truth that's being lived right now.